video is intended for educational purposes only and is not a replacement for repairs or diagnostics by qualified technicians. All commentary is pure satire and not directed at any individual or company. Smiley face.
Alright, welcome back to the warehouse and to the floor. Today we're going to do a quick video. Basically, on this 2021 F3, we have these anti-tippers on the front of it. I get a lot of questions from people about how to either install or remove those, so I figured a quick video that I can point them to is probably an easy way to do it. It's actually not very difficult at all, and this applies all the way back to the beginning of when they introduced the F3, which I think was around 2016, 2017, something like that. So anyways, let me show you how to do that real quick. Now, obviously my chair already has the anti-tippers, so we'll just take these off and put them back on, and that should cover everything. One quick thing before you start. If you're going to be using a jack or something to pick up the front of your chair, make sure your rear caster wheels are pointing backwards. Because if they're forward and you pick up the front of the chair, the thing can kind of move on you and maybe shake itself loose off the jack. This here is just a random US General mini aluminum low-profile jack. These things come from Harbor Freight, I believe. I actually got this thing a long time ago. It came with a tow truck that I bought, but I'm pretty sure Harbor Freight still has these things. I haven't measured the height on it, so I will do that and then put it in when I'm editing this video to show you how tall that actually is. Basically, all you need to do, though, is roll the thing underneath here. Make sure you get it a little ways back, though, because if you try to lift on that front plastic cover, it's going to come off. And we don't have to pick up very far at all, so we're just going to kind of at the wrong angle to do this. There we go. That's all it takes. Basically just enough to get this tire barely off the ground. For this job, I'm pretty sure the only thing we're going to need is some Allen wrenches. And I will, of course, link these down below as well. These are just random Pittsburgh Harbor Freight-ish T-handle ones with a little carrier. They do sell them on Amazon. I don't know if Harbor Freight still sells the same ones or not. But anyways, this being a 2021 F3, it has these dumb hubcaps on it. I'm actually going to be swapping over these wheels to the older style ones. I'm actually waiting for a set of those star hubcaps to come in, and then I'm going to replace those. Until then, I don't want to run around with those ugly, like, orange ones that they usually have on there. Okay, so I'm using a 6mm Allen wrench for this. It would be easier if I had a set of the ones that you put into a 3/8 inch ratchet. Okay, this would be easier if you had a set of Allen wrenches that attaches to a 3/8 inch ratchet. I can't talk today, but I've had these on and off a few times, so shouldn't be too big of a deal. And on this chair, you're going to want to make sure you leave this middle part alone that has this little yellow sticker on it. That's the hub. That's for removing the hub from the motor shaft. We don't need to worry about that. We're just going to do these three outer ones here. And again, I've had these things off of here multiple times. They do use thread locker most of the time, but I've had them loose so many times it's not too big of a deal. There you can see, blue Loctite. And this works the same on both sides of the chair, so we'll just pull the tire off. Some random hairs in here. I don't know why these motor shafts always pick up random hairs. This is our entire anti-tip mechanism. You got the wheel, bracket, and then there's basically just 3 bolts that hold it on, and that's it. Now in this case, the bolt is being blocked by this hub, so we'll just throw it neutral. Rotate this a little bit. Make sure it's clear of all 3. There we go. And now all we do is use the same 6mm T-handle Allen wrench, or whatever you're using, and pull it off of there. Now these I have not removed before, so I'm expecting them to fight me a little bit. Actually wasn't too bad. There we go. And these just screw directly into the housing on what Permobil calls the drive unit, which is the gearbox and the motor all in one thing. If you are buying these things off of eBay or somewhere else, it's preferable if they come with the bolts, but I'm pretty sure these are almost the same as the wheel bolts. There we can see the threads are exactly the same. So the ones that come on the wheels have this little bit of a knurling on the outside, whereas these ones are smooth. However, I don't think that really makes a difference, and in my book, these are twins and are interchangeable. And there we go, that's it. 3 bolts. We've got this whole bracket assembly that has the wheel on it, and if you're taking them off, just put your wheel back on now, and you're basically done. Ta-da! And if you're putting them on, which we are going to do, it's the same thing basically. These just slot right back in here, and there's 4 holes around this, but we'll just be using 3 of them. I think, I'm about 90-something% sure that these are the same on the F5 as they are on the F3. If I'm not correct on that, someone please let me know down below. But the F3 and the F5 are essentially the same chair. The only difference is they have the 4-pole motors that stick out a little bit, which makes this wheel stick out further. Then also different suspension and a taller seat elevator, and the motors are faster. But everything else is exactly the same on the chairs. So I'm pretty sure these would be interchangeable. Okay, so what I said earlier about knurled versus not apparently is not true. 2 of them on here were knurled, 1 of them was not. So I guess they just kind of used whatever fasteners they had lying around. So that's completely irrelevant. The only thing that does matter is on the wheel bolts, there is a washer. And there are no washers on this. Anyways, let's put this thing back on. We're going to do it with the same bolts that it had, just for no reason in particular. Let's get these started to hold it in place. Okay, now we can just spin all these back on there. As far as tightening these down, I'm sure there is a torque spec, but this is one of those cases where I just kind of go by feel. And in my case, I just stick the wrench in here, give it a couple of those, and call it good. Interesting note, however, there are no Loctite on these bolts from the factory. Okay, we're going to call that good. Let's get our wheel back over here and kind of line those up. Make sure you're using the bolts that have the Loctite and the washers on them. And we will screw those back in. And once again, you do want to get these fairly tight. You don't want to go nuts and strip them out. Having a ratchet version of this would be a lot better, but I'm just going to do the same method that I normally do with this. And that makes my hands hurt. Anyways, I have these wheels off of here quite often anyways, and I check the torque on everything quite a bit. Now you may notice that your hubcap has this hole in it. If you have an older F3, you don't have to worry about that because there's just a little cap that goes over the middle. Actually, I will pull over one of those chairs and show you how to get those center caps off real quick when we're done here. But if you look around on the inside of this, you're going to find right here where it looks like there should be a valve stem. Now, obviously this chair does not have air-filled tires, but just for OCD purposes and for lining this back up, this hole goes on the section where this little, well, spot where the valve stem would come through if it did have air-filled tires. So we'll just point that down. And then we've got 3 little plastic retainers in here that go through these 3 corresponding holes. So make sure you get those lined up properly. And you can kind of feel that it's set in there. And then gently pop them into place. And that's it. That's how you install, uninstall, and reinstall, or any combination thereof, these anti-tipper wheels. All right, I'm going to pull the M3 over here real quick. It has that other style of caps in the middle. Obviously, an M3 doesn't have the anti-tippers on the front, but it's got the same wheels, so I can show you how that works. And suddenly a 2017 M3 enters the chat. I'm just going to show you real quick. On some of the F3s, they're going to have different style wheels like this. And you'll have either these orange, pukey, disgusting reflector caps or the star caps on there. It's a little bit dark, but future me should be able to adjust this. Basically, you reach in with one finger, and I'll show you after I take it off, but there's a little clip, and you want to push up on it, and it'll pop out. Same with the other sides. There we go, and then the whole thing will come out. Now these have little plastic catches. They actually ride on this surface on the wheel, but this little hook right here is what's holding them in place. So what you're doing when you reach around behind the spoke on the wheel is you're pushing up on this little latch right here. See how this kind of bends up? So this little clip is what's actually holding it on. This is really hard to show. There we go, now you can see it. This guy right here. So you just push up on that and it flexes the whole thing out of the way. Those little hooks also come into play when you're putting it back on the chair. When you put this in, it may seem like it's clipped into place, but you have to reach through and push down each one of those tabs to make sure they're actually locked. I think you can hear this. There we go. And the last one, there we go. Now it's actually in place. If you don't manually push those into place, this will 100% come flying off, especially when you're going through some sort of like, I don't know, 14-inch deep mud puddle and they'll be lost forever. So anyways, who is this weirdo that has all these wheelchairs in a warehouse? Anyways, there you go. Quick installation of the anti-tippers right there on an F3. And again, this should count towards the very first ones that they made, which was 2016, 2017, all the way up to the newest ones. Permobil likes to use the same parts on everything, which is good because it makes it more simpler to explain how to do things. So anyways, if you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed.